More on the rise for climate protests, I'm now joined by Michael Dorsey. He's an expert on global governance and sustainability, who also spent time working in the Obama administration on environmental issues. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure, Jessica.
So the parties are meeting in Bangkok to make some progress on Paris. They have to agree on formal guidelines, and we talked a little bit about this. They have to come up with a way for their governments to meet this criteria of keeping the global warming down past 2 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. So bring us up to speed on where we are meeting those commitments and where the hang-ups are.
Sure. Paris is coming forward really strongly, and getting countries to agree on that is coming forward, and that's going to take place at the 24th meeting of the parties, and it's going to be in Poland. Right now in Bangkok, it's an intersessional negotiations. It came after the meetings earlier in the summer in Bonn, and essentially countries are doing exactly what you said. They're trying to get together the framework towards implementing the Paris Agreement, and they're doing that. I would say it's split in two sort of camps. There are the developed countries of the world, the rich countries, as it were, would like to really focus the attention on mitigation and creating new markets, getting life back into the failed and flummoxed European emissions trading scheme. And then the developing countries of the world, or the poorer countries, those in Africa, Asia, Latin America, really want attention on a handful of things. They want resources, money in particular, to fight the unfolding climate crisis. They want technology transfer, and they really want a larger commitment that's based on what we call common but differentiated responsibilities. Basically, that recognizes that all the world is in this problem and committed to tackling the problem, but different countries have different capacities and responsibilities. So the developing countries would like to see more resources, more money to help them get out ahead of the unfolding crisis. So that's where the sort of the divide is, as it were.
You talk about the two camps, and that was really the secret to the success of Paris, was that you had China leading the developing countries and the U.S. leading the developed countries to the table. Now we don't have the U.S. as part of this deal anymore. So who's leading in terms of encouraging countries to meet their commitments? I mean, is this stalled because there isn't as much leadership from the West?
Well, I wouldn't say it's stalled. I would call it stymied. The U.S., officially in the headlines, likes to say that it's not a part of agreement, but actually we've got U.S. negotiators there in Bangkok. Absolutely. Trig Talley's there, others are there. So the U.S. says it's out of an agreement, but it likes to meddle and mix up agreements and really push agreements to lower ambition, even when they're officially out of processes. And it's done this not just in the climate negotiations and biodiversity, in a handful and a host of UN negotiations. So this is a regular activity.
So it's your view that the Americans at the table are actually hurting the process, is that correct?
I won't go that far right now, but I'll just make the point that the U.S. is never totally out of anything, even though, despite what the headlines might say.
Well, do we know who's pushing the process forward in that context?
I think you opened with those that are pushing at the top of the segment. Really it's citizens in this country, it's citizens around the world that are really not protesting, but what are they doing? They're rising for climate, jobs, and justice. That's not called protesting. That's really making the case that there are more jobs in California in solar and wind than there are in oil and gas. And that's the case really not just for California, but in the whole country, United States. That's the case increasingly worldwide. So it's really citizens that are holding governments accountable globally and nationally. They've been doing that in California with Jerry Brown. Just this morning, he made a commitment to block offshore oil gas drilling in California. He did that mainly because citizens are holding his feet to the fire. Really,
really quick, just give us the headline on the Green Climate Fund. Where are we?
It's in trouble. It doesn't have the money that the U.S. committed. We moved $1 billion. That's $2 billion short of our $3 billion commitment. It needs much more resources from the rich countries of the world, and it also needs to get the money quickly to those countries in need.
All right, Michael Dorsey, we'll have you back. Thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it.